What's up, team? This is Frank, and this is Satisfactory in Early Access. Wait, why does Steam say I have over 200 hours played in this game? I only started playing like a month ago. Oh, I have a problem. Satisfactory is a factory and resource management game with some exploration elements. You work for Fixit Incorporated, who drop you on an alien planet with a couple of tools to exploit the natural resources around you. It's a lot like a sandbox, which gets more and more sophisticated and complex as you exploit resources and expand your building library. Currently, there's no real story beyond drop, mine, and build, which frees up a lot of your time to explore and create. Resources are infinite but can be extracted in greater number depending on the purity of the deposit and the level of the building extracting it. I found a lot of satisfaction in automating my buildings and maximizing efficiency. I even spent an entire night rigging my oil, plastic, and rubber production and spent hours refining building placements and stacking conveyor belts, as well as dealing with the crude oil waste which I was turning into fuel for my vehicles and power generators. Damn, why do I like this game so much? To give you a sense of purpose and direction, the game gives you milestones which clearly list the number and type of resources you need to deliver to upgrade to the next tech tier. It was super convenient to be able to see the items and progress, and you also can create a shopping list of all the materials you'll need in order to build all the things you want over here. Pretty handy. Another essential convenience is that when you recycle buildings, you get all the resources back, which was so critical in my run. As I became better at organizing building layouts, and as I got new tech to expedite manufacturing, and as I unlocked alternate recipes for goods, I was constantly building and revising my factory layout. Most of this was voluntary, mind you. The game doesn't penalize you for making an inefficient or Willy Wonka-esque design. You're free to cut corners and overlap conveyors, but you can also take your time, drop foundations which make it easier to line up buildings, hide your conveyor belts in the air or under the floor, and even color code your buildings to make everything look perfect and proper. You're also free to invite your friends or join their world, and this was a great way for me to learn new tricks and see some best practices for my factory. The game offers 4 different starter regions to play in depending on how difficult you want the game to be. All 4 regions belong to the same map, but some regions have greater threats and more difficult terrain to navigate, especially early on. In the beginning, your exploration will be hampered by dangerous beasts, poison, and falling from great heights. Also, your starter factory will run on biomass, which burns through fuel rather quickly, but luckily the game will notify you when your power runs out, which I ended up using as a timer to tell me when I've traveled far enough and had to head back while collecting leaves, wood, and dead animal carcasses to feed my factory's insatiable biomass consumption. Part of the fun for me was discovering new tech and building options, so I don't want to spoil all the cool upgrades, but I will say that at the beginning I felt super ineffective in a fight and died constantly from falling off ledges and cliffs. When you die, all the items you are carrying will be dropped in a chest, which conveniently is marked on your HUD for retrieval, but there were a few times I died in an area I couldn't get back to, either because it was smoldering in poison gas, surrounded by baddies, or was literally the end of the map. If you want to cheat, just load your last autosave and mind your step next time. However, by the end of the game, when I was fully upgraded, there was no place I couldn't go and no foe I couldn't fell. The world feels massive at the start, and truly it is, but once you start making railways, hypertubes, and personal movement support equipment, nothing can really stand in your way. And that's it. That's all you really need to know to get started in Satisfactory.